today's topic, Thermostat IC. Thermostat IC. Thermostat IC. What is Thermostat IC? What is Thermostat IC? Thermostat IC is the IC in Thermostat IC stands for eye control. So when we think about a thermometer takes the temperature wherever it is. Whatever the temperature is, the thermometer does a measurement of what the temperature is, and then it comes up with a number. If it's warm, it may say 85, 90, 95. If it's cooler, it might say 75, 65, 60. If it's getting cold, it might say 40, 30. If it's freezing, it's gonna be 25, 20, on and on and on. That's what a thermometer does. A thermometer measures and takes the temperature of the room or the car or the freezer or wherever a thermometer is. It takes a temperature. But today's topic, Thermostat IC, is we control the thermostat. See, a thermostat is different than a thermometer. A thermostat looks at what the temperature is, and then the thermostat says, okay, what temperature would you like it to be? And once you set the temperature that you would like it to be on the thermostat's job is to make sure that that room goes to that desired temperature. So it's much different than a thermometer. A thermometer is just taking whatever it's given. A thermostat is saying, you know what? I'm setting the temperature. So if it's cold in here, you know what? We want to make it a little bit warmer. Let's turn the temperature up. If it's too warm, or if it's too cold, or vice versa, you move accordingly as a thermostat. So it's very important for us to know, it's very important for us to understand that in our life, in our everyday dealings, in our living, and how we live our lives, and how we conduct ourselves. You might not have known before, but you know now because you're listening to this message on 6 continents, 25 plus countries all over the world. If you didn't know before, you know now that you set the temperature for your life. You set the temperature for where you're going. You set the temperature for your success. You set the temperature for your prosperity. You set the temperature for your health. You set the temperature for your relationships. You set the temperature for your business dealings. You set the temperature for all of your interactions. You set the temperature for where you want to go and where you want to be and the person that you want to become. You're a thermostat. So even if you never knew that before today, now you know because of this message that you are a thermostat. Not only are you a thermostat, but you're a thermostat IC, because I control where my life goes. I control where I end up. I control how successful I become. I control how prosperous I become. I control where I go. I control. I'm in control. I'm the captain of my ship. I'm the master of my fate. I'm in control. Now, that's a tough concept for a lot of us because a lot of us have varying backgrounds, different religious beliefs, different circumstances in terms of how we grew up, socioeconomic status, rural, suburban, urban, middle class, upper middle class, rich, wealthy, poverty. You know what I'm saying? It's all different levels listening to this podcast. But the one thing that I will tell you from this Empire Within podcast is that no matter what your background is, no matter where you're from, no matter what your upbringing or present circumstance, present situation is, you guys know what the 3 A's to success are. The first A is adversity. We use all adversity as fuel to get us to where we want to go. Then we make the necessary adjustments. Whatever those adjustments have to be, we make the necessary adjustments. And then once we make those necessary adjustments, inevitably we stand on that platform of achievement. You know what I'm saying? But there's no standing on the platform of achievement if we're just taking the temperature with the thermometer and just dealing with whatever comes. There's no platform of achievement if we just give up and say, well, you know, this is what it is. These are the cards I was dealt. My father wasn't there, or my mother wasn't there, or my mother held my hand and then she stopped helping me, or my dad, you know, was giving me money, but then dad stopped helping me. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't continually blame entities outside of us. At some point, we have to take responsibility for where we end up. Whether we like where we are or we don't like where we are, we must take responsibility for where we end up. And the only way to be able to understand the 3 A's to success, adversity, adjustment, achievement, you have to be willing to take responsibility, you have to be accountable, and you have to know that whether you acknowledge it or not, or whether you understood or not, your thermostat is the reason why you are where you are today. Let me say that again. Whether you understood it or not, before today, the temperature that your thermostat is on is the reason why you're in the situation that you're in today. So either you control that thermostat, or you didn't even know you had one and you wasn't paying attention to it, and you let somebody else control your thermostat. Because you are where you are. So now, if you don't like where you are currently, guess what? It's always hope. Because you can change the temperature on your thermostat. Why? Because you have a Thermostat IC. You have a thermostat that I control. So say that to yourself. I have a thermostat that I control. 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 Now, here's the thing. There's always going to be some cynics out there. There's always going to be somebody that has something smart to say. And to be honest, this podcast is not for everybody. So when you notice me, I'm not trying to reach anybody other than the individuals that I'm supposed to reach. So you're going to have some people out there that say stuff like, well, I live in the projects and we don't have no thermostat, right? And I just thought about that because I grew up in the projects and I didn't have no thermostat. But instead of making it literal and talking about a literal thermostat, I'm talking about a metaphorical, theoretical, parabolic, right, thought process of what you need to do to go where you say you want to go. I don't care what your situation is right now. You have to imagine your life in your mind the way you see yourself, and you have to set that expectation, set those goals, set that temperature, take that bar and place it where you want it to be so that you too can say, I have a thermostat IC. I have a thermostat I control. I'm not being controlled by the masses. I'm not being controlled by the news. I'm not being controlled by the opinions of others. I'm not being controlled by my family. Though they mean well, sometimes the way they think doesn't align with the way I think. So I'm not being controlled by that thought process. I'm being controlled by a thermostat that I see. So with that being said, I want to say thank you to everyone who subscribes to the Empire Within.